Hello friends, neighbors, Johnny Whiskey Neighbor here. Welcome down the Nook, and today we're going to talk some Japanese whiskey. These are both from Nikka, and this was given to me by a good friend. Came over for my birthday, Nikka Coffey Malt, and then I have a bottle of Nikka from the barrel. I almost always have a bottle of Nikka from the barrel around. So, this will be the focus because I haven't talked to you about Nikka Coffey Malt Whiskey. Let's pour a little bit together. If you have any of this or any malted whiskey, you could do a single malt. I would say stick to bourbon cask if you're looking for any kind of similar flavors. And when we come back, we'll share a little bit about Japanese whiskey, a little bit about this, this specifically, the coffee malt, and then I'll compare it to Nikka from the barrel, maybe because it's one of my favorites. Anyways, pour a little bit and come on back. 3, 4. Well, as I tried to say in the opener, let's talk some Nikka expressions. This one, Nikka Coffey Malt, is not in any way made with roasted malt to a coffee flavor or anything about coffee. It's actually about the fellow who invented the coffee still in 1830, Aim Coffey, I believe is his name. This is 100% malt, so it's all malted barley, and it's run through that still. That's one of the first, or maybe the first, patented continuous column still, which, is those tall copper stills that you've seen, usually now like used in bourbon productions and whatnot, those tall stills. Now those will be a different still than coffee. To keep a coffee still going is pretty unique because there's been so many improvements in continuous stills since then. But they've got one too, actually, and they do the grain, the coffee grain, and then the coffee malt whiskey series. Released at 45%, I believe it's aged in reused ex-bourbon casks, I think, but I'm not sure. So someone could share with me. And another thing people could share is are their whiskeys colored at all? I feel like they're not. I feel like these are natural colored, but I don't know that. And I'd love for you guys to share down below in the comments. So as I said, this coffee whiskey was given to me by James. Thank you very much. And let's get into nose and taste on this Nikka Coffey Malt. I find this nose sweet, vanilla, and a little bit buttery. Kind of reminds me of a well-produced, Irish or Canadian whiskey even, which is interesting because it's all malt. But the nose for me is sweet, vanillas, a little bit of grains, malts, that kind of thing. Let's dive in and see if the palate helps me out. Sláinte. Really have begun to enjoy this. I will say when I first opened the bottle, it seemed a little bit Canadian whiskey-esque. And by that, I mean, yeah, it was sweet and light, but it didn't seem to have character. The more I am sipping this whiskey and taking time, the more butters and cream and richer, softer caramels, and maybe a little bit of chocolate, but some oak, some malt sugar sweetness. It's not very fruity for me. It's not like high fruitness. Like if you had poured an ex-bourbon Highland or Speyside Scotch, you'd get way more orchard fruits. It's just playing into a buttered toffee, vanilla cream, icing, slightly oaky, which is very interesting. Reminds me of a Baines whiskey I had. This is South African, I believe. Just with that richness and that buttery notes. Actually, I have to say, James, when I first opened it, I'm like, oh shoot, how am I going to talk about this? Because it's not really hitting me the way I want. And it's still not a go-to for me, but it has become richer and creamier, which is really a great thing to have in a 45% whiskey. So I think if those notes appeal to you, that sweet buttercream, vanilla icing, a little bit of oak, I think this could be an interesting dram. So I wanted to shoot it against, actually I was hoping to find just a malted whiskey, and I couldn't find one that I thought wouldn't bring in too many fruits, because I just don't get a lot of fruit on this. It's more other things. So I thought, you know what, let's just talk another Nikka then. So this is Nikka from the barrel. Now Nikka from the barrel has malt in it, but it also has grain whiskeys in it. So it's obviously going to have right away different characters. And I understand that they've blended this and then married the blend together in used casks to really speak about casks, about barrels, about what do you get when you're tasting right from the barrel. You're right in that rick house or their warehouse, and you're right there with all of that oak. So that's interesting. It's also 51.4%. So this is only malt, just barley. This has grain and barley in it, and it's a little higher at 51 instead of 45. Let's see what this gives us. This nose is very different. It's got some oaks, some spicing. This is sweet, honey, butter, vanilla. This is cinnamons, oak tannins. And I am getting a little bit of fruit on that. Let's try from the barrel on the palate. Sancha. Lots of spicing going on here. And I'm getting some of that grainy notes, but mixed with, cinnamons, cracked pepper, a little bit of some savory, like a ginger, a little bit of ginger, slight orange. Boy, what are some more of those barrel spices? Gonna try another sip. Cheers. Now, I would say it's a little thinner in the palate. This has a really unique, robust creaminess to it. This is a little more cutting, almost like I've got a bit of rye in here because it's a little thinning, a little drawing on the back. Lots more oak. Clearly they're going for that, they're blending for that, but I got, drying oak, seasoned sun-bleached oak, that kind of dry wood, peppery, cinnamon, a grain, and then there is a different fruit on here. I know it probably sounded like I liked this one better than Nikka from the barrel. It's not true. This, I ended up really finding a unique character to it, and it stands on my shelf, and I've got a few open whiskeys as unique. It really stands out, and it took me a while to get to know it. Maybe it took a while for the bottle to open up. It's been open for over 2 months, 3 months, 4 months. No, I'm thinking actually it's been open for a while. And now I respect it and like it. But for my palate, it sits just under 4. It's like 3 3/4 star. But it might be beautiful for you guys. It might be exactly what you're looking for. It's just not what I usually go for. This spicy, oaky interplay of, there's some malt nuttiness in there, but there's also some interesting grain and lots of oak. And I tend to like the different varieties of oak. Almost feels like French oak. Like it's got that kind of spicy to it, that spicy oak. I really like this. Nikka from the barrel for me is 4, pushing 4 1/4. Like, I actually am happy with 4 1/4. Now it's hot. It's hot. This is almost the opposite. This is at 45. This drinks at 40. It's very creamy. This at 51 drinks at 55. It's a hot whiskey. It really is. So if heat throws you off, then don't go out and buy this, which is fine because it's finding it hard to get this at a good price anymore. Anyways, I just wanted to share with you a couple of thoughts of Nikka, specifically the coffee, because I'd wanted for a long time. And then when I got it as a gift, it took me a while to get to know it. I'm happy I did. I'm thankful for the gift, of course. And I'm glad you joined me here. What do you guys think? Have you had the coffee grain? How does that compare to the coffee malt? And have you had Nikka from the barrel? And is it a favorite of yours, or does it just burn a little too much? Thanks for joining me. Share some thoughts downstairs, down below in the comments. And I hope you guys have a great week. Take care.